Hello, friends. As we age, we become more mindful about what goes into our bodies and how we store our food. But did you know that some foods you've been putting in the fridge for years might actually be better off somewhere else? It's true. Many of the foods we tend to store in the cold to keep them fresh are actually harmed by the chilly temperatures. In fact, refrigerating these items can cause them to spoil faster, lose their flavor, or even change texture in a way that makes them less enjoyable to eat. Now, I know that it can feel second nature to toss something in the fridge, especially when you want to make sure it lasts. But don't worry, I'm here to help you rethink your fridge habits. Today, we're going to talk about 9 everyday foods that should never go in the fridge. These little changes in your kitchen routine can make a huge difference in how long your food stays fresh, how much you save, and, most importantly, how great everything tastes. Imagine this: you've just bought fresh tomatoes or a loaf of bread, and they're sitting in your fridge, losing flavor and freshness each day. It's frustrating, right? But what if I told you there was a better way? Keeping certain foods at room temperature helps preserve their natural taste and texture. So, sit back, relax, and let's go over the simple, easy-to-remember tips that will keep your food fresher longer and prevent unnecessary waste. By the end of this, you'll be a food storage expert. Ready to get started? Let's dive in. Segment 1: Tomatoes. Let's start with tomatoes, a staple in so many of our kitchens. Whether you're making a fresh salad, a homemade pasta sauce, or just enjoying a slice with your sandwich, tomatoes are a go-to ingredient. But here's something many people don't know: tomatoes should never be stored in the fridge. While it might seem like the cold will help them last longer, it actually harms them in a few key ways. When tomatoes are kept in the fridge, the cold temperature disrupts their natural ripening process. The result? They lose their flavor and become mealy or mushy in texture. Ever had a tomato that just didn't taste like much? This could be why. Tomatoes do their best when they're stored at room temperature, away from direct sunlight. Keeping them on the kitchen counter or in a fruit bowl helps preserve their natural sweetness and juiciness. If they're not fully ripe yet, room temperature allows them to ripen properly, so you can enjoy them at their best. If you have leftover tomatoes, the best way to store them is by placing them in a paper bag or container in the fridge, but only once they're fully ripe. This can help extend their freshness for a few more days. But remember, once they've been refrigerated, they won't be as flavorful as fresh, room temperature tomatoes. So, next time you buy fresh tomatoes, keep them out of the fridge and let them shine in your dishes. You'll taste the difference, I promise. Segment 2: Potatoes. Next up are potatoes, another kitchen essential. Whether you're making mashed potatoes, roasted wedges, or baked potatoes, they're a versatile ingredient in countless dishes. But just like tomatoes, potatoes don't belong in the fridge. While it might seem like refrigerating them would keep them fresh longer, the cold can actually cause more harm than good. When potatoes are stored in the fridge, the cold temperature changes the starches inside them into sugars. This not only alters the taste, making them unnaturally sweet, but it also affects their texture. Instead of being fluffy and soft when cooked, refrigerated potatoes can turn out grainy and less satisfying. Additionally, the high sugar content caused by refrigeration can also lead to dark spots when you cook them. Potatoes thrive in a cool, dry place, but not too cold. A pantry, cupboard, or a well-ventilated drawer in your kitchen works best. The key is to keep them away from light, which can cause them to sprout and turn green. If you do notice any sprouts, simply remove them before cooking. For longer storage, you can also store potatoes in a paper bag or a breathable container, which allows air to circulate and helps prevent spoilage. And if you have leftover cooked potatoes, it's okay to refrigerate them, but remember to reheat them properly before eating. So, the next time you bring home a bag of potatoes, remember, the fridge is not their friend. Keep them in a cool, dark spot, and they'll stay fresh and delicious for weeks. Segment 3: Avocados. Avocados, creamy, flavorful, and perfect for everything from toast to guacamole. But here's the thing: if you're trying to ripen an avocado, the fridge is not the place to keep it. While you might think storing them in the fridge will help preserve them, it actually slows down the ripening process, leaving you with a rock-hard fruit that's not quite ready to eat. Avocados need warmth to ripen properly. When you bring them home, leave them on the counter at room temperature. This will allow them to ripen naturally over the course of a few days. The key is to check them regularly. When they yield to gentle pressure, that's when you know they're ripe and ready to eat. Once your avocado is ripe, that's when the fridge comes into play. If you don't plan to use it right away, refrigerating it can help slow down the ripening process and keep it fresh for a few more days. But remember, refrigeration won't make a hard avocado ripen, it only works for those that are already at their peak. And, a quick tip for saving any leftover avocado: store it with a little lemon or lime juice and wrap it tightly in plastic wrap or an airtight container to minimize browning. So, the next time you buy avocados, let them ripen on the counter and keep them in the fridge only after they're ready to enjoy. This simple step ensures you get the best flavor and texture. Segment 4. Bananas. Bananas, they're a staple in so many kitchens, whether you're enjoying them as a snack, adding them to a smoothie, or putting them in a bowl of cereal. But here's a tip you might not have heard: bananas do not belong in the fridge. It's a common mistake, especially when you want them to last longer, but putting them in the cold does more harm than good. Refrigerating bananas can cause the skin to turn black, which makes them look unappetizing. While the skin may darken, the fruit inside doesn't ripen properly and can become mushy in an undesirable way. Bananas need warmth to ripen, so keeping them at room temperature is your best bet. To get the most out of your bananas, simply keep them on the counter or in a fruit bowl where they can ripen naturally. Once they're fully ripe, if you don't plan on eating them right away, you can refrigerate them to slow down the ripening process. While the skin may continue to darken in the fridge, the fruit inside will stay fresh for a few more days. And, if you find yourself with ripe bananas that are too soft to eat, don't throw them away. They're perfect for baking, smoothies, or freezing. Simply peel, chop, and freeze them for later use in recipes like banana bread or a creamy banana smoothie. So, the next time you buy bananas, remember, let them ripen at room temperature, and only refrigerate them once they're ripe to keep them fresh longer. Segment 5. Garlic. Garlic, it's the flavor booster in so many dishes, from soups and sauces to meats and vegetables. But here's a little secret: garlic should never be stored in the fridge. While it might seem like the fridge would help preserve it longer, cold temperatures actually cause garlic to sprout and lose its pungent, aromatic flavor. Garlic thrives in a cool, dry, and well-ventilated place. A kitchen counter or pantry with good airflow is the ideal spot. You want to keep garlic away from direct sunlight and moisture, as these can cause it to rot or mold. Garlic bulbs, when kept whole, can last for several weeks, even months, in these conditions. If you've already broken a head of garlic and have individual cloves left, you don't need to refrigerate them either. Simply store them in a small container or a paper bag, and they'll be good for a few days. However, if you've peeled garlic and need to store it for longer, it's best to place it in an airtight container and keep it in a cool, dry place, not the fridge. The fridge can also change the texture of garlic, making it softer and less flavorful. So, whether you've got fresh garlic or leftover cloves, skip the fridge and store them properly to preserve that strong, delicious flavor. And next time you're cooking, you'll have that perfect garlic kick for your recipes. Segment 6. Onions. Onions are a kitchen essential. Whether you're slicing them for a stir-fry, chopping them for a salad, or adding them to your favorite soup, onions are a go-to ingredient in many dishes. But here's the thing: onions should never be stored in the fridge. While it may seem like the fridge would help preserve them, cold temperatures actually cause onions to lose their crispness and flavor much faster. When onions are stored in the fridge, they can become soft and start to spoil quicker, with the added risk of absorbing moisture that can lead to mold. The cold can also alter their natural flavor, making them taste bland and less vibrant. Instead, onions need a cool, dry, well-ventilated place to stay fresh. A pantry, a kitchen cupboard, or a mesh bag in your kitchen will keep them in the right conditions. Another important note: onions should never be stored with potatoes. When these two foods are kept together, they can release gases that cause each other to spoil more quickly. Store them separately, and you'll prolong their freshness. Once you've cut or peeled an onion, it's fine to refrigerate it for a few days in an airtight container or plastic wrap. But for whole onions, keeping them in a dry, cool spot is your best option. So, next time you're stocking up on onions, remember, keep them out of the fridge for the best flavor, texture, and longevity. You'll be able to enjoy them for longer and get the most out of every onion you use. Segment 7. Honey. Honey is a sweet treat that's perfect for drizzling over toast, stirring into tea, or adding a touch of sweetness to your favorite recipes. But did you know that storing honey in the fridge is a big mistake? While it might seem like refrigerating honey would help preserve it, it actually causes more harm than good. When honey is refrigerated, it can crystallize, turning into a hard, sugary mass that's difficult to use. This crystallization happens because honey naturally contains sugars that can form crystals when exposed to cold. While this doesn't mean the honey has gone bad, it certainly makes it less enjoyable to use. The good news is that you don't need to refrigerate honey at all. Honey has natural preservatives, like low moisture content and acidity, which prevent it from spoiling, even at room temperature. In fact, storing honey in the fridge can actually shorten its shelf life by causing it to crystallize more quickly. The best way to store honey is in a cool, dry place, like your pantry or kitchen cupboard. Keep it in an airtight container to prevent moisture from getting in. If your honey does crystallize, don't worry, it's still perfectly safe to eat. Simply place the jar in a warm water bath and stir until the crystals dissolve, and your honey will be good as new. So, next time you reach for the honey, remember, leave it off the fridge shelf. Storing it at room temperature will keep it smooth, sweet, and ready for any dish you want to add it to. Segment 8. Bread. Bread, a delicious, comforting staple in many of our meals. Whether it's fresh loaves, rolls, or slices for sandwiches, we all love having bread around. But here's something you may not know: bread does not belong in the fridge. While it might seem like refrigerating bread will keep it fresh for longer, it actually speeds up the process of drying out and going stale. The reason behind this is that the cold temperature in the fridge causes the starches in bread to crystallize, which makes the bread hard and dry. This is true for all kinds of bread, from soft white loaves to crusty whole grain bread. The result? A stale, chewy texture that's far from enjoyable. Instead of refrigerating, bread is best stored in a cool, dry place, like a bread box or a kitchen cupboard. If you're planning on eating the bread within a few days, just leave it on the counter, but be sure to keep it in a paper bag or wrapped in a cloth to let it breathe. For longer storage, the freezer is your best option. Freezing bread helps it maintain its texture and freshness, and you can easily thaw individual slices or entire loaves when you need them. So, next time you buy a fresh loaf of bread, resist the urge to put it in the fridge. Keep it in a dry, cool spot, or freeze it for longer storage, and you'll enjoy it fresh and soft every time. Segment 9. Coffee. For many of us, coffee is a daily ritual, that perfect cup to start the day, whether it's brewed from fresh grounds or a convenient pod. But when it comes to storing coffee, there's one big mistake to avoid: keeping it in the fridge. While it might seem like refrigeration would help preserve coffee's freshness, it actually has the opposite effect, diminishing its flavor and aroma. When you store coffee in the fridge, the moisture in the air can cause the beans or grounds to absorb odors from other foods. This leads to a stale, off taste that can make your coffee less enjoyable. Additionally, refrigeration doesn't stop the natural oils in coffee from degrading. Those oils, which give coffee its rich, full flavor, can break down faster in a cold, damp environment. The best place to store coffee is in a cool, dry, and dark spot, away from heat, light, and moisture. An airtight container, ideally kept in a pantry or cupboard, will help protect the coffee from air exposure and preserve its freshness. If you're buying coffee in bulk, consider dividing it into smaller portions so you only open what you need at a time, helping maintain the rest's freshness. For longer storage, freezing coffee is an option, but only if you're storing it in an airtight container to avoid moisture. When you're ready to brew, just take out the amount you need and let it thaw before grinding. So, next time you're reaching for your coffee, keep it out of the fridge. Store it properly, and you'll enjoy a fresher, more flavorful cup every time. As we've seen, storing food properly is key to preserving its freshness, flavor, and texture. While it's tempting to throw everything in the fridge, many foods, like tomatoes, potatoes, avocados, bananas, garlic, onions, honey, bread, and coffee, actually do better when kept at room temperature or in a cool, dry spot. By making simple adjustments to how you store these common items, you can avoid food waste, save money, and enjoy better tasting meals. Remember, every food has its ideal storage conditions. It's about finding the balance that works for each item to keep it tasting its best for as long as possible. So, the next time you shop or unpack your groceries, think twice before reaching for the fridge. With these easy tips, you'll be a pro at food storage and make sure your meals stay fresh, flavorful, and full of life.